Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I see I are on Facebook already. This is Lady Pauline from Our World Media, Our Power Show, with my co-host today, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, the Honorable Mayor of Sutton Boulevard, if I do say so. And I have with me already
Mhm.
Mr. Tony Johnson, who is the editor and owner of Our Times newspaper here in Southeast Queens. Welcome, everybody, to Our World, Our Power show. Today, our topic is going to be Get Out and Vote. And I'm glad to see my co-host is with me, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, the Honorable Mayor of Sutton Boulevard, and Mr. Wayne Gilman, our political analyst and the former director of news from WBLS and WLIB, and Tony Johnson from Our Times, who is the editor and the owner of Our Times newspaper here in Southeast Queens. Welcome, everybody, to our world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Pauline,
Hi, guys. Good to
Lady
see you.
Pauline.
Yes. Glenn.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Glenn, I see you have a sticker
Yep.
on.
Yes. I went out and voted on the first day. I couldn't wait, and the lines the lines were not too long. I mean, I spent about a little over an hour um, waiting in line, and then actually voting and leaving the polling area. It was very crowded. It was busy. A lot of people were there, excited about it, and I think that I think people are taking this serious. I haven't seen this kind of enthusiasm since Obama, um, and quite frankly, both of those times, we only had the day of voting, and I was at the polls before 6. Matter of fact, I was there about 20 minutes to 6, and I was not the first in line.
Okay, where did
I was
you
about
where did you go and vote?
at the local school
Okay.
in the neighborhood, and but today I went to for early voting. They have a special location for early voting, and so the early voting is at York College.
Okay. That's great. Tony, what are you doing about voting and how do you feel about what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. No, I'm very happy about the turnout because I went by your college earlier, took some photographs. So I was very happy that there's a good turnout. It's like Glenn said, is reminiscent of when Barack Obama ran for president. So, and this is early voting, so I'm really excited. But unfortunately, I know the system is rigged. So, I have my own thing about whether or not it's going to be successful because of the way the electoral college is set up. Because I just took a trip down south for my birthday, Monday, October 12th. I took a trip down to West Virginia, and I went through Virginia, went through Baltimore area, Maryland, and let me tell you something. There's a lot of Trump supporters down there. They got signs in front of farms, Trump supporters. So it's not going to be a short shot victory. It's going to be very close.
I hear
And
you,
I
sir.
expect this is going to be, yeah.
I hear you. Wayne, what's going up there in the Bronx and New Rochelle?
Well, I voted a couple of weeks ago by mail. I didn't want to, take the chance of being around a lot of people because I recently underwent some medical problems, and I'm trying to get myself back together. But from what I'm hearing, what I've been able to glean, it is very exciting, and I understand what Tony's talking about. There are areas in this country that are solidly in this man, the president's favor, and but I still maintain that with all the polls that have been taken, I believe Biden has a very good shot at getting ahead. People are suffering.
and they want change. And I believe the pandemic is definitely going to be a factor in terms of bringing about a change. And that, coupled with everything else that everyone has gone through and what we've suffered the last 4 years, I just believe that in spite of the enthusiasm that you may see from the other side, I still maintain they're a minority. And all we need to do is to have, particularly Florida, you started the Electoral College, if we could carry Florida and have all the votes that we need, there's nothing that Donald Trump can do. I mean, he's done the Republican Party's done everything that they could do to suppress this vote early on. I just think the momentum's in our favor.
I agree with that, but I do want to say that there are some people that are really very devoted to Donald Trump, even though I hate to say he is an idiot, but there's a lot of people that sort of likes his style, and that sort of concerns me because of those set of people that likes his style. They're not really concerned about
Right.
whether he's doing the right thing for the country, but he's different, and people like different,
Right.
even if it's negative, Tony. So I don't know what you
Crazy.
saw down when you went down south.
Yeah.
Were people even wearing the mask?
Very few people was wearing masks down there. I mean, the people, I mean, you have a large section of this country that's, like you said, is Trump supporters. And I don't believe in the polls, because I don't think nobody would admit that at the polls, at the pre-polls surveys, that they are Trump supporters. 'Cause just like when Hillary, they said they had Hillary way ahead before last election, and she ended up losing. So
Yeah.
But
I don't believe in the polls. I think it's gonna be very close, and I think there's Trump has a large amount of supporters in the Midwest, the South, and I've seen them.
Well,
They're dressing Trump stuff, Trump suits. They got Trump all over their cars. They're serious.
Hypothetically, if he does say he does win, where do you all see the country going in the next 4 years? It's already in the toilet, but where else could it go?
It might be a civil war, because that's the way because this country is so divided that there's a possibility that there might be a civil war, and it's not be maybe a war with weapons, but it's gonna be such a division in our country that nothing will get passed. Everybody gonna be having a negative feeling about our country. We needed somebody. I wish Biden was more like Ronald Reagan, as far as to try to get some enthusiasm about the country, and that's what he lacks to me. He lacks that fire in order to make the people, even the people who will vote for Trump, if he had more fire and conviction, that might have turned.
what? May
they-
I comment on that?
The Fox News was making fun of him that he was stuttering. So there's a large portion of this country is not going to support him, especially with Kamala Harris. That might work against a large portion of this country too. I think this country is more chauvinist than even racist. I think they're more a male chauvinism is really the danger in this country.
How do you feel about that,
yeah.
Glenn?
there are quite a few issues around it. I didn't watch the whole debates, and
Yeah.
first of all, I want to say that there's a whole bunch of Trump supporters up here north. Okay, you go to New Jersey, they
That's
just had,
true. That's true.
they had a rally at Green Acres Mall a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
ain't got to go south to see them.
Right.
But
It's
one
true.
of the things
It's true. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting. Now, I'm not. I watched a little bit of the first debate. I couldn't stand too much of it, and I watched maybe the last half an hour of this last debate the other night. And one of the things that I heard Biden say that I thought might be detrimental is the fact that he talked about reducing oil, and you've got Pennsylvania
Oil.
and Texas
Right.
are big oil
Right.
economies, and he talked about reducing
Right.
them and bringing in green. And personally, I think that's the right idea. I think that's the way that we need to go progressively in terms of creating new jobs and green jobs and so forth. But you've got also
Right.
a group of
Right, it's
people who are from those states or those counties that are oil dependent.
Right. Right.
Heard that and got a little
Right.
scared around, well, he's going to reduce the jobs
Yeah,
and
they got
get rid of
scared.
us. Hillary had the same issue when you talked about coal in West Virginia and Pennsylvania the last time. And so that kind of skewed some of them away. But the truth about it is that 45 promised jobs to the coal miners and nothing got produced as far as I can tell. So
No.
that was just a line that he
No.
was using to get their vote initially. But I haven't seen a whole lot
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
Wayne, I know you want to jump in here. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah. I just want to briefly comment about Tony's lack of enthusiasm. I understand your concern, but I would never compare Joe Biden to Ronald Reagan. I remember there was a time when Reagan was running, and he was very charismatic. He had the whole Hollywood thing locked down because of his past, but there were times when people questioned his effectiveness because they thought that he didn't know what he was doing. I believe that Biden looked a little fatigued during the debate, but when it came to answering questions, he certainly was like on top of his game in response to some of the rhetoric. And it was really the problem with these debates is that if somebody's going to sit there and lie for an hour and a half and just spew, and Donald Trump is a cogent, proficient, pathological liar. Everything that he comes out with, he does a very cogent job in lying. He is the Joseph Goebbels of the Republic of the world. He's a modern day Joseph Goebbels. Problem with him, if you believe him long and strong enough, and there are enough dummies out here that would swallow what he's saying as being accurate, then that case, then you're hitched to his wagon. But everything that he has said, I have to give Biden credit. He stayed above the fray during the debate. Every time Donald Trump tried to attack his son, there was enough fodder in the last 4 years about the entire Trump family that Joe Biden could have gone after. And everyone knows it. But yet, he didn't do that. And I'm concerned. I know we live around a lot of Republicans. They say New York is a blue state. But, you go to places like Staten Island. You go parts of Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst and Bay Ridge, up in West
Island,
where I'm at now. There's certainly
Suffolk County
pockets of where Trump has his support, but that does not mean, I think there is such an overwhelming, the thing that has to happen, we have to have a landslide. And I said this the other day on another show that Americans are in pain. There are a lot of people suffering out here. And I'm not just talking about the economic pain that we're going through. There have been 200,000 lives lost. They are predicting by January we will be double that amount unless we get back on course. And we need a monolithic point of view with regard to fighting this pandemic. That's the issue. You want to swallow and take Clorox and think that that's going to clean your veins of this virus. You know, I have another thought coming. You know, he politicizes everything. So, I mean, I admit that there is a vacuum. There are people out there that are caught up in the Donald Trump image as a television star, but he's a pathological liar. He's guilty. He's a racist, bigoted. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to be blind not to see what this man hasn't done in 4 years.
You know something, Wayne, that I was greatly surprised that we have a lot of minorities that are Republicans. So that's
Well,
something
what
that
the-
surprised me, that they
Yeah.
would go along with, you know, his style.
Yeah.
It's not that
Right.
they're just Republicans, but he's very outrageous. He's, as Wayne said, he's such a pathological liar that you know, how come the other Republicans cannot see that? And why are they
They-
sticking with him?
They see it, but there's an agenda. You know, if there is a landslide in favor of the Democrats, the Republicans are going to have to go through a lot of research and rebuilding. You have the Lincoln Project, where you have a distinguished conservative group of Republicans who see that the man is lacking civility. They see the mistakes that he's made, and they're spending tons of money. Not that they're quitting the Republican Party, but they're spending tons of money in media to let the people out there who don't understand what's going on, what this man has done. And as far as I'm concerned, if you give him another 4 years, we're not going to be living in a democracy. It's not much of one now, unfortunately. And a lot of it, I think, is just predicated on ignorance.
Well, you know, one of the things that is troubling just from the Republican Party in general is that since the Tea Party came into being, the Republican Party is no longer the Republican Party that we've known it to be. So the modern Republican Party in itself has been torn apart by the Tea Party and have gotten what I wouldn't say extremists. And so now they're extreme and the Democrats are on the other side of the conversation. And so to them, the Democrats seem extreme. And so now we've got these two factions that are not working together, which makes no sense. We need a country that is both Republican and Democrats are working for the betterment of the American people. And I can't see that with Donald Trump. In fact, Mitt Romney looks like a more rounded out Republican candidate to me than anybody else that I've heard, because the rest of them are so one-sided about their thinking. But Wayne brought up a great point, which was to answer your question. Why are they following him? They're following him because he is delivering the agenda, which is to undermine what Obama has put in place, the Obama administration with Biden have put in place, number one. Number two, they have opened up all of the regulations for the Free Air Act and the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act, because they're now doing fracking. They're now digging for oil on government parks and lands, reserves, government reserves, which is something that none of the Democrats would have allowed to occur.
Exactly.
And so you've got economic windfall for quite a few Republican supporters who are at the top, but then you've got the Republican supporters who are not, who are the racists and the what have yous, who are white supremacy, who are out there, who aren't really making any money, but they're hoping that they're going to be delivered jobs. And I haven't seen any jobs that he's delivered. but that's the promise because he was a millionaire. They felt like he knows something about business and is going to deliver this economy that's going to have them be fully employed and making a lot of money, and it hasn't happened.
That's what.
Tony, go ahead. Were you going to say?
That's what I mean. There's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of ignorance, voter ignorance, and a lot of these people will vote for Trump because they have their own interests. Because there's people who's live in the neighborhoods in which are mostly white people. Of course, they're going to go with Trump. I mean, you have a lot of people who vote for Trump because they think they're the best interest for themselves. This is a very selfish country. They really don't care about the people.
That's true. That's true. But
No.
I've also wondered why all these other countries are so invested in Donald Trump. And that disturbs me, because I mean, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and you have all these other countries like Russia, and they have such power. Like it seems like they have a power over him.
It
He owes
disturbs
them
me.
money.
You have, I don't know who was to respond to that, but I'll just say quickly that there is a relationship, a business link between the Trump family and the Russian government. Same thing with China. Found out the other day, the New York Times had a report that Donald Trump has a bank account. He pays a tremendous amount of money in taxes to the government of China. He don't pay his taxes here in the States, but they certainly don't forget about him when he's doing business abroad. So, all these things have come out in the open. It's not like as if they have our best interests, but the deal is these governments would like to destroy our democracy. Let Biden get back in there, or any Democrat that does not go along with the agenda of what Donald Trump has constructed in the last 4 years, and things will go back to how they once were. I'm not saying that it will be any safer than it is now, but clearly by befriending these governments who have been our enemy, it's been documented that Putin wants to kill American soldiers. He had a bounty on the head of each soldier. Donald Trump has said nothing.
Yeah.
Kim is capable, and North Korea has shown that he is about his. It's all about his leadership and his power. He will go as far as killing his own family. He's done that with uncles and relatives and things like that. Every other part of the world in which the United States is facing some problem, you could find out why he is sort of linked to these dictators. And he wants an authoritarian state here in the United States and to get rid of democracy. And I'm just saying, this is what's so important about today's vote.
Well, you hit on it, Wayne. He has effectively got the executive branch, he's got the judicial branch, and he's got the legislative branch in terms of the Senate, which is blocking everything else that's coming out of the Congress.
Right.
So
that's why we can't get no aid.
Right. So he's effectively has stonewalled the entire process. Now, the thing is that we've got to get out and we've got to take at least the Senate and contain control in the House. And you can't have somebody, the attorney general in your back pocket doing your bidding for you.
Exactly.
Come on, give me a break. We've never had this lawlessness that exists in a president. Just bring in your cronies. Look at how many people have been arrested under that are his buddies, and of course he's bailing them out.
Exactly.
I mean it's really a shame when you think about it, and then look at
Yeah.
how other countries are looking at us. I mean, France and England and Spain and Germany are looking at, well, who is this madman?
Exactly.
I mean, literally.
Yeah.
I think they think that we're a joke. Basically.
No, I think they see him as a joke.
Yeah.
I think they realize that the American people, especially those who are not, astute enough to understand what is going on, there are a lot of people in this country who don't understand the political process, and those people, Donald Trump has managed to basically get control of that population and to do something that would basically reinforce his base. But I still maintain the majority of people out here, even those that are not college educated, because they always equate the ones who have gone to college and have done better. This is not even about that. This is a basic common sense issue. If you are in pain, you're going to do things
It's a
to
non.
anesthetize the pain. And I just think there are enough of us out here who've had enough of it, and those who espouse this political point of view, they have a problem. And I would just ignore it. It cannot be ignored. I mean, the deal is ignoring it is by going out and voting against that agenda.
Or not voting at all.
Well, you have to vote. I that's the thing that I find, I mean, to me, those people who are doing that or even sending mixed signals in our own community. I mean, we have these entertainers in the last couple of weeks have come out, Ice Cube, who I'm a little surprised at, and the disc jockey, Charlamagne the Guard. They come out with these mixed signals that they, and 50 Cent.
Yeah, and 50 cents, definitely.
They've had the need to sit down and talk to Trump about doing things for the black community. Trump talks a good game, and all right, so he's giving money to the HBCUs, but I mean, he's killing us on the flip side. That's the thing that I look at.
Right.
And I don't think that this is a time. Why didn't you engage in this process 4 years ago? But you want to take advantage of it now? And there are so many of us who admire these individuals because of what they do in entertainment. And they figure, well, if Ice Cube is doing that or 50 Cent is doing that, then maybe I should go vote for Donald Trump again. Maybe I should give him a shot of 4 more years.
Trump gave him some money. They're sellouts.
Yeah.
What else is there? They're sellouts. That's why.
And there are enough of us out there.
The saddest thing about all of this, Americans have been shown to have a short memory. If Donald Trump had handled this COVID, we would not be in this conversation or pushing Biden forward. Not that we wouldn't have wanted to get him out, but it would have been a stronger conversation for him to stay in than it is now.
Because the economy he would have the economy.
He would have the economy. He would actually look presidential if he had handled this COVID. And a lot of us saw Obama's pitch, and he said we had a playbook for him. They clearly didn't open up the manual, and we are where we are. And so, for me, as unfortunate as this pandemic is, it has helped people to see that we don't have the proper leadership in charge to really direct this country the way it should be.
Tony, I wanted to ask you something. Through your newspaper, Our Times, what have you written so far as getting the vote out in our community of Southeast Queens?
No, I'm coming out with the issue on the 28th, in which I'm going to be discussing, encouraging people to get out and vote for sure. Like I said, you got to make your vote counts. Don't get discouraged because you think your vote doesn't matter. Every your vote matters, and that's the message I'm going to bring, because the president is the most powerful person in the world, and to have a leadership that's immoral reflects on us as a nation. So I want us to get higher standards. So that's what I'm hoping, that we can reach a higher standards, a higher level of conduct.
Yeah.
That's what I hope for. So I'm encouraging people to vote.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Also, Glenn, I know you was out there this morning. Did you see a lot of young people out voting?
Um, hmm, not not a lot. Um, I would say that the crowd was probably at least over 35, 40-ish looking. You know, historically, and especially in Southeast Queens, the older folks have been the consistent voters, and if you're running for office in Southeast Queens, you got to go to the to the senior centers and what have you, and certainly feed them.
They're local races, right, Glenn? They're local races, right? They're local races, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
They're
so
local races, right? The local politicians running for office, right?
Absolutely, and we've got to support
Congressman Meeks.
Richards for borough president, Queens borough president. That is a must. We've got to get him in there. Make a difference for Queens in general. We've got Meeks.
That's where a vote really counts, is in local politics.
Yes, yeah. And I think that that's a message that people have missed over the years, and I'm going to include myself in having missed that for probably the first 15 or 20 years of my voting activity. I voted in every election, but not necessarily as consciously inside of the local positions as I could be or should be, because you've got the judges that are going to be impacting your community. You've got the district leaders. You've got certainly the assembly and the state senators that all make a huge difference. In fact, had we not had a Democratic assembly and senators, that's how we got early voting, because the Republican state politicians didn't want us to have extra days. They wanted it to make sure, because they know that we're working people, and you got if you got to take a day off to vote, that's inconvenient, and less people are going to vote. So this was a huge thing that the Democratic state senators and assembly put in place so that we could do early voting, which is is going to get the vote out.
Now, here in Southeast Queens, and we have a lot of senior citizens, in St. Albans and all over Lawrington and stuff like that. Have you gotten any feedback as to, are they having difficulty would be able to go out and vote, or are they actually just sending it through the mail?
Well, I think that the only thing about the mail is that there are more things that can go wrong. That's the thing that I'm concerned about, and that's why I didn't put my ballot in the mail. Not everybody dots your I's and crosses your T's. May have to put it, when you sent it in, you have to put it in a particular envelope inside of itself in order to complete the process.
Yeah. And if I might, I don't want to sound like I'm dominating the conversation, but the thing is, one thing that I did with the mailing, I made sure that I sent a certificate of mailing. It wasn't a lot of money, but I wanted to make sure that if there was some question about whether I voted or not, I could point. I have physical evidence of my going to the mailbox, having placed this ballot in the box, and that's it. I could have driven to White Plains or, where our executive board of elections office is. I could have gone to someone there, but I mean, the deal is, I want to believe that there is enough going with the process. Not saying that things cannot happen with the mail, but the vast majority of Americans this particular time across the country, not just New York, have voted by mail. I want to feel that it's going to work. And I had personal reasons. I, had just suffered an illness in the past year. I didn't want to really be exposed. And as I hear the way people are standing in lines all over New York, I heard a report about people trying to vote in Times Square, and it's taken up to 3 hours. I mean, that's a great indication to me that people are really concerned about making a change. But I physically cannot. If I could, I would have done the traditional thing and just gone to the polls to vote.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
The problem I have with the mail is that how many times you vote in person and then you didn't fill in the bar or fill in the dot properly enough, and they tell you to go back and redo it. Now, how many people can mail it out, don't really fill out the space, right? And their vote is gonna get discarded without them even knowing. So that's the problem I have with
that. They could make the same argument about the machine.
I think if you go there in person, if there's a problem.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing.
Nobody. If it rejects it, or the guy working there at the polls would tell you fill in the space properly.
Right. Well, but he is still not allowed to.
So I can imagine how this can happen by mail.
No, but he could tell you to fill it out properly.
I hear you.
If he could instruct you or she could instruct you to fill out the ballot properly, but you're not going to go back to him or her to show whether or not if you've done so, because it's left to you to submit it. And that's the thing. I think more and more people are going to go through the convenience of voting by mail than having to stand online. I think, maybe this election is an exception to the rule. But, and I've said this over
of course,
the course of my time on the air on a regular basis, that all politics is local. What you and Glenn talked about in terms of getting these local elected officials out and elected to carry on the needs of the community is very important. But this is like a prize fight between Republicans and Democrats. Every presidential contest is like that. And,
you got to put your dukes up there. You got to put them.
we have to fight the powers that be.
Yeah. I'd like to take this time, to say that you're listening to Our World, Our Power, and you can hear us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and also our podcast, which is Our World, Hour of Power. So please continue to follow us. Glenn, is it time to pay the bills?
Pay the bills, baby. We got to pay the bills. We're our sponsor, local sponsors, our law firm of Stephen G. James and Associates, located at 87-66 Stephen Boulevard, 646-905-9000. He hasn't lost a case in 30 years. So if you got a scrape or scrap that you need to get in, he's the guy to get you out of it. Next up is Chocolate Loft. They're located at 113-10 Sutphin Boulevard, 347-804-1030. They are also 929-504-4920. They are a wonderful location. They've renovated the place during the pandemic. It's a great opportunity to have events there. They've got enough space. They've got some outdoor space, so you could actually have enough people in that location. Um, he, he and my partners, there are their access to capital. They're located. They can be reached at. They can reach at 917-443-8573. And last but not least is Henry's Carrot Cake. And my mother is now a fan.
Oh, I know Henry.
Once you got a piece of Henry's Carrot Cake, you will not.
I love his carrot cake.
I love his
Yes,
carrot cake. I could eat it morning, noon, and night.
I love it.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
We have a guy, not to cut you off, and no disrespect to Henry, but there's a guy over here, and actually he's deceased, but his wife carries the business, Lloyd's. Anyone in the Northeast and Northwest Bronx, Riverdale, Yonkers area, they're very familiar with Lloyd's. Even Upper Manhattan, he's had 2 locations, and there's something about carrot cake, and I'm determined, short of becoming full-blown diabetic, to find out how I can make something just as tasty on my own.
I hear you. Well, Henry Carrot Cake is located at the farmers market, located at 15915 Jamaica Avenue, and you can reach them at 718-263-8119. Back to you, Pauline.
All right. I also want to mention that we have a new sponsor coming up in the next few weeks. Everybody knows Carl Clay from Black Spectrum Theater, and in the next few weeks
Yes.
we're going to be interviewing him. So I just wanted to say also to Carl, thank you for the support of our world media, and I'm looking forward to doing business with you. Now let's continue our conversation. I'm very concerned about young people voting. I don't see it happening, and I don't see enough young people on television talking about politics. So my thing is, I'm wondering. I know, Tony, you went to school for journalism. I know, Wayne, you've been in the media business
Yeah.
for over 40 years. What is wrong with the young people that they're not really coming out and voting? I don't see them even over the years, as Glenn said, it's an older population, or maybe people 35 and up, but the point of it is we have young people that are 21, 22, people that's in colleges. Where are they, and where do they stand? Glenn.
The number one problem is we have 2 senior citizens that's running. 2 people that's over 70 years old. How can you expect to attract young people to really take interest in 2 old people running for the
Tony, you're absolutely
president?
right. That's true.
It's basically that.
That's
interested
true.
in that.
You're right.
Hey, I couldn't,
Well,
I couldn't answer that much better than that. Go ahead, Wayne.
No, I was just going to say, I see a lot of young people who are interested in the process, and contrary to, what some have observed, when you look at what Bernie Sanders was capable of doing with his socialist rhetoric, one of the reasons why a lot of young people set out the last big presidential contest, because he was not the nominee, So it's not like they're not concerned. I think a lot of them are very well up to speed, and there's certainly a lot of emphasis on the part of all these websites, the social websites that have come up in the last 10 and 11 years. People are not going to the traditional, what we would consider traditional sources of information as we knew it in our day,
That's true.
I hate to say it, radio is dead to a certain extent, particularly in this community here. We've done shows about this already, that we don't really have a consistent Black voice. And the thing is, it's not to say that there isn't Black programming, but we don't have an
That's true.
outlet in which we could go on a 24-hour basis and talk about the issues as it pertains to our community. But
I
we
agree.
do have this vehicle. We do have this platform. And the deal is that in many instances, this is our future. And there are a lot of people, young people, who watch this and they form an opinion. And I think the whole controversy with people like Ice Cube and Kanye West and 50 Cent, if we're talking about that demographic and people younger, they're people who follow them. And I've even seen interviews on MSNBC, one that disturbed me the other day. They picked 4 Black women somewhere in the Midwest, and they looked at the last debate, not talking about this one that was held the other day, but the one that was held 2 weeks ago between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And the thing is that it was a spectacle, but they looked at it like as if it was a prize fight. They felt that maybe Joe was not forceful enough. You know, it's not about who's forceful, it's who's delivering common sense. If you feel that if somebody is habitually lying about something and that makes them better than the opponent, then you're not looking at the big picture. You know, and I think that's the problem. You know, again, I go back
to this America, Wayne. It's aesthetics.
Analysis of a prize fight.
Well, you know, you made a great point. There's a couple things. One is that as you said, the traditional media is not being represented. So you're going to social media, and what we know about social media, Facebook and Twitter and whoever else is out there, they're not fact checking. They're allowing anything to go.
Right.
So there's a lot of misinformation. So people aren't really clear what is true and what's not true. In fact, if you so let's say, for example, Facebook. So I'm a Trump supporter and you're a Biden supporter, and you've had those kind of appetite, and so you demonstrated to Facebook that that's what you like. It doesn't show you the opposing views. So if I'm a Trump supporter, all I'm getting is positive Trump things. If I'm a Biden supporter, I'm getting just positive Biden things, and we're both typing in the same thing. So that same phrase, you know, what's news or what's whatever, is going to give me what I've already looked at. So it's not going to, so it keeps me in looking, you know, in blinders, looking straight ahead at what I've already done. It doesn't widen the lens and allow me to get feedback for something outside of where I'm thinking. Go ahead, Wayne.
I agree. And a glaring example of that was this last debate, in which there was some rhetoric that only people who tune into Fox News, not even Facebook, but only people who are familiar with some of the things that the Fox News channel, I'm not talking about the individual news department, but the hosts that they have on there that basically uphold and project Donald Trump like as if he's the second coming of Christ. They'll come up with all sorts of analyses that are contrary to what's going on, and no one is fact checking them, you know? So, I mean, the deal is, and that's the issue.
They have millions of viewers on Fox.
Right. You know, the bottom line is that there are people, I've gone through this in my personal life, or somebody I've done business with the last 5 years, a person who's not of color, but he's trying to understand what the Black Lives Movement is all about. And instead of sitting down and understanding that there are not just Black people involved in promoting what the movement is about, it really applies to everybody. But every time he hears this, it's like part of his brain shuts off, and if I support that, then I got to be a racist, you know? And I'm just saying Would you prefer that I be shot in the street, innocently, like Breonna Taylor or George Floyd, where he was strangled to death? I mean, you watched this man die for more than 8 minutes. And the bottom line is, I could go on and on. I covered cases like this over the years. Things don't change. And I know that this person, I'm not going to call his name, means well, but it disturbs me that he's only getting his point of view that he upholds from one source and not look at the other.
Tony, what
Wayne, no, the point about only a large percentage of things like crime really affects only 13% of the community is really affected by crime. So the majority of the country never even have a crime committed or never even heard of a crime. These towns never even is crime-free America, really. So these things that affects the black people, the minority people, is not going to affect the majority of the country. The majority of countries do not care about Breonna Taylor or George Floyd.
With you, Tony, there are more whites, and Donald Trump brings this out all the time. There are more whites that have been abused by police brutality than there have been blacks. But when you compare the volume, we're only 13% of the population. So you do the math.
I've heard of a white person getting shot, unarmed white man getting shot by the police.
Yeah, I've not heard cases, that. But you don't hear them as much as you hear us, because we are regularly, you step out your door, we are regularly prone to be victims of that kind of violence.
Well,
we're only 13% of the population compared to the rest.
Well, let me give you guys an example, a great example of how the misconnection occurs. Colin Kaepernick kneels down to protest the violence that's happening to black men in the country. That whole thing got that he was now against the armed services, and he was disrespecting the country, and so on and so forth. Got these negative spins that they take off and go with and have that be the truth, rather than the truth being that he was standing up for people who were getting brutalized by the police. Now,
they get it
3
now.
4 years later, now the NFL is like, oh, I guess we kind of missed the point.
Right.
Really? I mean, wake the freak up. I mean, come on. This is not about racism. This is about equality. This is about having a notion of what is fair and what is equitable to everyone. Now, I must say that inside of this Black Lives Matter, I've seen more white folks participating than anybody else, which is encouraging. However, does that translate to the vote? Pauline asked the question earlier. Most of them are millennials that are out there that were protesting, that were very, very energized by what happened. Now it's time to convert that to votes, because the protesting is great, but if you don't change who's in office and who's in power and who can change and make the policy changes that you need, it's all for naught. And I think that's the conversation that the older folks have seen throughout the years, and they know and they understand that how I'm going to make a difference or make a change is by casting my vote to a candidate that I think can make a difference.
Okay.
And I see
that sounds
these
good,
corporations being nothing but lip service.
What did you say?
I said these large corporations are giving nothing but lip service. Even the NFL, they said something about Colin Kaepernick was right, but he's not getting a job. Right. He's still unemployed.
Yeah.
So what's that? What difference does that make if they acknowledge it?
Well,
they still not going to do nothing to rectify it.
And I have to applaud people like LeBron James and other members of the NBA that basically said, we're going to show you our influence. We're just going to stop playing, you know? And I think we have to have more days like that until somebody wakes up. It's not, you're right. It's not enough just to get an apology. What are you doing for me?
Okay, I like the conversation,
Right.
but I would just like to know, this is 2020. When is the change going to happen? I mean, we have seen a lot of changes, you would say, over the past 50 years. There's a lot of changes in the world, but there is so many changes that is needed, badly needed to make an effect. And sometimes I wonder if it is who is really in office that is making these changes, because like right now in our community, Tony, Glenn, we see, I don't mean to change the subject a little bit, but there is so much crime that's going on. There is, and at the same time, we have Black Lives Matter. We had Black Lives Matter marches on Southern Boulevard and in Jamaica, Queens. We had them. But at the same time that all this is happening, there's so much shooting that's going on within the community. Now, that has nothing to
Yeah.
do with who is in office as the president. That falls back on our local politicians. And I don't know where the answer is.
The answer is that when you have high crime rates, people need jobs.
Thank you.
See, if they're not working,
Yeah.
then what they're going to do is they're going to criminalize their own neighborhood. We need jobs.
Yeah.
We need to be able to provide jobs. We need something more powerful than affirmative action. Affirmative action
And education.
help white women more than it helped black men, which is what it was designed to do. It failed African American black. It failed black men. Let's say that. Let's be real clear about that. We need
Yeah.
a jobs program that's specific inside of our community. Because listen, brothers out there who are slinging would, if they could get a job, and I ain't talking about a $15 an hour job in McDonald's or wherever, okay, when they can make more money on the street, they need some professional, they need education, they need retraining, you've got
Healthcare.
healthcare. You need all of these things to live a quality of life that you're not going to go out there and beat somebody over the head for $5.
But
Correct.
Glenn, and Tony and Pauline,
Yeah.
Donald Trump says that he's done more for black men
Yeah.
since Abraham Lincoln.
Oh my God.
I mean, he says this all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That's what he
I know.
does
So
say.
what's
Crazy.
going
That's
on? What is
crazy.
it that I've missed?
I know.
Well, and some people still believe in Santa Claus. So
Hey,
I mean, listen, I can live in a fantasy world all I want. The
Yeah.
truth of the matter is,
Yeah.
you come to our community and you look
Yeah.
at people who are not working, who don't have access to health care, who don't have the retooling education that Biden has talked about. Biden has talked about green energy, windmills. Donald Trump laughed at them.
right,
Oh yeah, it's not productive.
Right.
Well, where are we going to go? Listen, this country, since Ronald Reagan, has been shipping the jobs to other countries. Okay? We did nothing about that for 30 years, and now we've woken up and say, well, wait a minute.
Right.
What happened to all the great jobs, the manufacturing jobs that we had? Well, we shipped them
Right.
overseas. So all
No.
we have
Right.
is service jobs.
There was a
With
Democrat
service
responsible for that, Bill Clinton. And unfortunately, the vision back then, 30 years ago, was that we were to have a global economy. And once that stopped working for us, the genie was out of the bottle. I could save money on taxes by paying somebody in Mexico,
Right, by shipping your right
15
overseas
cents an hour.
to China. Right.
Right, exactly.
Well, I
You
hate
know-
to interrupt, but our time is up. And I
Oh.
would just wanted to say
Already?
Yeah, already it's 5:01.
We just got
Yeah,
started.
we just got started, right? And I just want to tell everybody, please get out there and vote. Vote.
Right.
Vote.
Vote.
That's the most powerful
Yes.
thing that you have. And you're listening to Our World Media, where your news reflects you and your community. Tony Johnson, please tell people how they can reach you.
You can reach me at my phone number 718-864-6028, or you can email me at tjohnson192@hotmail.com.
And our political analyst, Mr. Wayne Gilman, how can people reach you? Because you are the
Well-
man of wisdom for the last 45 years.
Make-
You know
Make
everything
me
about
feel old,
news.
Pauline. Make me feel old.
I'm sorry, you have
I
the
don't have a
experience.
site, but I guess they could meet me through or reach me through Our World Media, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm
Okay.
on LinkedIn, and if anybody needs an apartment and they're decent tenants, please call me.
Okay. And our honorable mayor of Sutton Boulevard, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, how can people reach
You
you?
can always reach me at Sutphin Boulevard Bid, 718-291-2110. And let's get out and vote, vote, and vote.
All right.
Oh,
Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
And thanks
All
for
right,
being on
thank you.
Our
Okay,
World
thank you.
Media.